London is a big and complex, and most visitors get lost in it, not only physically but also intellectually. Even the Londoner does. One has to live in London to sense its personality, and yet his discoveries would not end. So you can accept London in parts. Hi, almost 20 centuries after its foundation by the Romans in around 47 AD, London remains one of the most famous and best-loved cities. It's a place whose history can be told through its iconic landmarks, from the Norman era buildings to the Tower of London, and now we are here at the Camden Lock, which is London's most iconic place. It's a city of culture, the setting of so many Dickens novels, from Pickwick Papers to Great Expectations, and the home to Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, painstakingly reconstructed in Southwarks. Almost 4 centuries of the original building was destroyed by fire, and now we are here to have a look around it. And in this documentary, we will see the city by day and night. Watch its inhabitants travelling by train, boat, bike, bus and taxi, exploring its restaurants and markets, its bars and pubs, and many beautiful literary landscapes. We will enjoy London's great diversity, perhaps best expressed in its food and drink. Camden Town is globally renowned, vibrant North London district, crucial as a hub of alternative culture, live music and tourism. Famed for the sprawling Camden Market, it drives tourism through eclectic fashion, street food and unique goods. Historically, its development as a key 19th century transport hub for rail and canal established it as a bustling, rebellious centre for artists and musicians. During Victoria era, Camden Town experienced significant development and expansion. As the 20th century gave way to 21st, Camden Town continued to embrace its alternative roots. Keats House in Hampstead was the home of John Keats in 1818 until he left for Rome, and originally named Wentworth Place. The house reflected the gradual suburbanization then taking place. It was Wentworth Place Keats composed his wonderful narrative poem The Eve of St. Agnes and wrote his great Odes of Spring in 1819, including the Ode to Nightingale. Now more than 200 years old, Keats House has always welcomed poets, and it was here Keats fell in love with his bride star Fanny Brunn, and now we are at Keats House. John Keats trained as a doctor, although he showed a natural aptitude for medicine. Throughout his training, Keats also dedicated himself to prolific writing. The house also hosts events and exhibitions throughout the year, exploring Keats' life and work as well as the wider Romantic movement. Keats House, turned into library, brings the diffusion of knowledge and poetry. Hello, we are in Hampstead, and this is the house of Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud, the founder of psychoanalysis, a theory of mind, works and method of helping people in mental distress. Freud was born in Czech Republic to a family of Jewish wool merchants, and Freud spent most of his life in Vienna and moved to London for a permanent residency. It was in Vienna that Freud went to school, attended university and got married and trained as a research scientist. When Nazis took over Austria in 1938, Freud was forced to flee to London and made Hampstead his permanent residency. Freud argued that human behavior is largely determined by unconscious motivations that stem from childhood experiences. And here Freud has proved that everything has come to his dream. It's here that Freud used to check the patients. Freud wrote prolifically about theory and technique of psychoanalysis and its implication for how we understand society, culture and ourselves. His major works includes the interpretation of dreams in 1900 and civilizations and its discontent after 30 years of his major work. And here we are at his house. Freud's house, it contains Freud's original psychoanalytic couch on which patients were invited to recline and say whatever came to mind. The study also contains his remarkable collection of antiquities, almost 2,000 items, filled cabinet and are arranged on every surface. Also on display in the dining room are several paintings collected by Sigmund Freud, taken just weeks before Freud's escape from early days of Nazi annexation. The house is also filled with memories of Anna Freud, who lived here for 44 years and continued to develop her psychoanalytic work, especially with children. Both Freud and Anna loved the garden, which is still meticulously maintained and is one of the delights of a visit to the Freud's house. Very near to Keats House is the Highgate Cemetery. Until the 1800s, most burials had taken place in church graveyards. But by the 1820s, these had become so overcrowded, indecent and unsanitary that a new solution had to be found. Outbreaks of cholera and typhoid made action more urgent. People who were not members of Church of England also wanted somewhere they could bury their dead according to their own rites. Where the church and state had failed to provide, private companies stepped in, inspired by Père Lachaise in Paris, the most famous cemetery in the world. They set up beautiful garden cemeteries on the edge of the towns for people of all denominations. Yet such cemeteries were set up around London. Highgate was the third to open. Cemeteries were also intended as a tourist attractions right from their earliest days, not just as places for the bereaved to mourn. Visitors would be improved by reading epitaphs, admiring art of the memorials. Workers of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but chains. This quote highlights Marx's focus on working class and their struggle against capital oppression. Karl Marx was born in Germany in a Jewish family. His fate brought him to England to experience hardships, poverty, crisis and radical involvement with his writings. Highgate Cemetery, created as a fashionable resting place for wealthy Victorian dead, is a veritable of who's who of London, great and good. I, Ratan Namtabad, roams the avenue of this most atmospheric necropolis. Highgate Cemetery is not in London, it is London. It stands for the city in splendour, its tangible history, and most of all because it is a place of story. Some of the capital's most dramatic and world's leading philosophers live and have a full stop here. It is a deeply atmospheric place that on a warm day can provoke a shiver. It opened in the spring of 1839, the third of magnificent 7 cemeteries encircling London. The grand 19th century necropolises met a practical need: the hygienic disposal of dead replacing overflowing in the pestilent city. Churchyards, with such a great garden of death, were intended to be more than pragmatic. They were quite consciously made beautiful, laid out like parks studded with impressive and expensive tombs and chapels. These graveyards are the most expensive graveyards in London, and almost all the London's who's who are resting here. And these graveyards speak so much and so history of London. You can just imagine what kind of things here. The graveyard of Jim Stanford Horn, one of the bosses of the Penguin Publishing. Good evening, and we are in the most iconic places at Piccadilly Circus, which is very near to the Leicester Square, and we are exactly in the Arrow statues. And this is the busy centre, whether it's day or night, or whether it's rain or winter. And it's everybody's choice and mostly the tourist spots in central London. London, the city that never sleeps, especially when it comes to the night. Thousands of tourists flock to see these most iconic places, especially we are exactly under the Criterion Theatre roof, and now the show keeps going. And not only the Criterion Theatre, but there are almost around 25 theatres which exclusively give the performance, and they are here for the past 200 years. And there are some theatres which are renewed and absolutely well maintained. And coming to the nightlife of London, you can see people are buzzing across the world, and people when visiting London, this is the most important place. Piccadilly Circus and Leicester Square, which are hubs, are almost nights are so warm and it's so busy in every centre of the London, and this is how it makes the theatres and almost all the business centres here. It's the most eye-witnessing place in London. Located on the northwestern side, these large-scale high-definition LED screens are a major recognizable features of Piccadilly Circus. Piccadilly Circus has long been the nexus of London's entertainment districts, drawing in seasoned locals and fascinating tourists. And this is Ratan signing off. Hope to see you more on the European travels.